I'm Steve Sapato, and you're listening to The Happiness Agenda. Hey, great to have you with us today. We talk about all things that will help you find more happiness, achieve more in your life, feel better, and grow yourself to become all that you want to be. I am absolutely blessed today, and I'm telling you, I'm blessed to have Angela Legh on because she's becoming the most famous, infamous children's author in America. Are you there, Angela?
I am here. Hello.
Howdy. Yeah, in case you guys don't see it, she's got this wonderful smile and she's just radiating. So it's a great day for us right here. Okay. Angela, where are you at? Where do you live right now, by the way?
I live in Taos, New Mexico.
Taos, New Mexico. Ooh, that's like snow skiing place, isn't it, Taos?
It is, yeah.
Yeah. Are you a snow skier?
I haven't skied in 3 years.
Oh, just 3. See,
maybe this winter.
I skied when I was young. So when I was, probably up till I was about 28, 29, maybe 30, it was one of those deals where you said, hey, I'll go skiing. And then I took like 15 years off. And one of my friends said to me, you want to come? I bought a condo out in, I'll say Vail. I forget even where it was. But he said, you ought to come and go skiing with us. And there were 3 of us going. I went, great. Well, 15 years and 25 pounds, makes it go. So, I was used to going to Hawaii by then. I was like, hey, I like snorkeling. I like doing this. And oh yeah, Hawaii is really good. But it was one of those deals where we had to go rent all the equipment. We had to, get all the ski stuff and, the coats and everything. So his condo, I was used to when I'd gone, we'd ski right from the slopes right out. We splurged and spent all of our money. Yeah. And well, he wasn't that. So we put on our stuff at his condo and then we clunked down the stairs to the car, so clunked across the parking lot, got in his SUV. He parked in the parking lot. We clunked our way through town, right? So I'm already exhausted. I haven't even gotten on a lift or a gondola. So by the time we got on the gondola and rode to the top of this mountain, I'm looking at this going, I don't think I'm in the mood. And literally,
hot chocolate.
Literally, I skied one time down the hill, took everything off and went into the lodge. And that's where I spent the whole rest of the day. And these guys were like, where you been all day? I went, I had a great day. Thanks for caring. But yeah, so once you get out of shape and once you do this, it's tough to get back in. So I don't envy you that getting back in if you're going to go back this year.
Well, I think the answer is follow your heart and listen to your body and do what feels good.
More donuts. Is that what you just said? More donuts?
More donuts. I did not. No.
Oh, you didn't? I thought you said do what feels good.
Follow your heart. Not your stomach.
Anyway, what we've got is I ran across Angela and I just love what she has to say. So Angela, why don't you do us a favor and tell us a little bit about you, would you?
I can, yeah. So, oh boy. Where do you want to start? I could start at the beginning.
Well, we only have so much time. So if you start at the beginning, you got to talk fast.
I'll make it quick. So I was born in the mid-'60s in the Haight-Ashbury district of San Francisco. If you can imagine, it was a very colorful area. Yes, there were strange smells happening, but there was music and people dressed in really colorful clothes. And, it would have been idyllic, except I had a father who was alcoholic.
Oh.
And and this sounds funny, but I think he was possessed by demons because when he was drunk, his rage, the way he treated us was so awful, almost evil. And I know that he turned to alcohol because when he was a kid, his parents made him feel inadequate. And so he struggled all his life with these feelings of inadequacy and ended up trying to escape through alcohol. But there's never any escape because we always carry those feelings with us.
Oh yeah. That's the weird thing about to me, alcohol. I don't. I drink on occasion, so I'm barely a social drinker. But a
Mhm.
lot of my friends have been drinking over the years, and a lot of them drink to excess. And like you say, most of the time, alcohol to excess never leads to anything good. I mean, a lot of people go,
True.
you haven't partied with me." You're like, you know,
Yeah.
okay, but overall, alcohol is not a great thing, and so that's tough. So you managed to escape from your childhood.
Well, I did. My mom divorced my dad, after it was a few years after, but
Sure.
we had a fire that destroyed our home, and we
You
kids were
you didn't start it, did you?
no. Oh,
Oh, I
no.
thought maybe that's how you escaped your home. She was like, "Hey, I think if I light it on fire, I'll get out of
No,
here."
because
No.
I was 5 years old,
Oh.
and we kids were sent off to foster care for a few
Oh,
months,
gotcha.
because they couldn't find housing again. So, um, what I learned as a youth was that anger was bad. My dad was angry and he was really bad. So, um, I learned to repress my anger, which led me to into a marriage with a man who was a little bit older than me and very controlling. And it
So he
turned
so he had his own set of problems.
he had yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. And I can trace all of these things back to childhood issues that decisions were made about, and it's associated with feelings. So, with my former husband, he grew up in a very angry home, and anger was what he knew, and that was how he dealt with life. But we were such a horrible combination of people because to me, anger was evil. And so I was very reactive to his
for
anger.
sure. Yeah.
And that was a very toxic relationship. And what I can, like I said, I can tie it all back to either embracing or escaping a feeling from childhood. And so, what I teach now, I write fairy tales for kids. And what I teach in the fairy tales is we have to face all of our feelings because all the problems in life come if we either embrace or try to escape a feeling. That if we just allow the feeling to flow, it flows.
Well, and that's the truth, isn't it? Most of us have not been taught to deal with our feelings. And I'll say our
Mhm.
feelings. We got to this wonderful place where it says everybody gets an award. Well, you're not dealing with the feeling of loss or disappointment. I got an award too. Yay, me. No, no,
And what
we
does
have
it
to.
mean?
That's right. We
Yeah.
have to learn how to deal with our disappointments, our struggles, our fears. We have to learn to deal with our happiness and our joy. Very
Mm,
few of us express. I think the reason a lot of us like to be around certain people is because some people, when they express their joy and their emotions, it's
mm.
it's exhilarating. You go, wow, that's
Ooh, they
wild.
feel
It's
nice.
cool.
Let's
It's
hang out with
strange. It's
them.
all the good stuff. But we like being around them. By the same token, we hate being around the people who express their
Anger.
emotional bad feelings. And it's like, wow, how can you hang around with that? I mean, I spent 21 years in a marriage that was all about. I mean, I actually adopted her anger. So we spent
Mm,
21 years, and I say 21, it's probably more like 16 or 17, but screaming, fighting, hollering, throwing things. It was, and I mean, every day it was like, why am I here? Why am I staying? Well, I stayed for my son because that was the way it worked. But, when it was all said and done, I just took a deep breath when I walked away finally and said, oh my gosh, why did I allow myself to participate? Because I participated, right?
yep.
I was an innocent bystander. I didn't just sit here and listen to this and cover up.
Well,
I
no, we become
participated.
reactive, and it's that reaction to a feeling that is the point that we need to disengage from.
Yeah.
And how I teach it is through I learned from Donnie Epstein, who has energetics, a program. He teaches AAA, which is to be aware, acknowledge, and accept a feeling.
Cool.
When you become aware of a feeling, you're noticing it, where is it? Where am I feeling it? Is it in my solar plexus? Is it in my stomach? Which is where I tend to have my feelings.
Oh, yeah,
um,
because we always say my stomach dropped or
yeah,
had a
my
real
stomach
yeah,
dropped.
that's right, all kinds of
Absolutely.
different stuff. So, yeah, we can relate to that by what we use to describe when we feel something, right? I had
Absolutely.
butterflies in my stomach. That's.
That's a definite, yeah.
So
So
wait, so let me
notice
back I'm gonna
what the
back up. You got
feeling.
out of your are you still married? Are you still in that relationship? That
Oh, no,
marriage?
I left that marriage.
Okay. So
So
where did you
just to
where
tie up that
yeah,
story,
okay.
yeah, a wildfire happened in Santa Rosa, California in 2017, and it destroyed 5,000 homes in one night, one of which was ours. And
Are
when
you saying fire plays a big part of your life? Is that what you're trying to say, Angela?
I'm bracketed by fires in the beginning and where I am now, yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, so what that fire did, it took away all the, I say, detritus of life. So there was no gardening to be done, no grocery shopping.
Yeah.
My book club dissolved because 10 of us, 10 out of 12 women lost their home that night. So life came to a screeching halt, and all I had was the relationship. I knew that it was toxic. I knew that it wasn't going to get any better, but it still
How
took
long how
me
long had you been married by that time?
32 years.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a
You
whole
said you
story
said
behind that.
it still took you how long to get
It
out of that
still
one?
took me 8 more months to
Okay.
leave. So I went into a dark night of the soul. I questioned my existence. I questioned everything. And what I came up out of it with was had stayed in that marriage because I couldn't hurt him by leaving. But in that dark night of the soul, I realized that my staying was hurting him because I was so oppositional, so reactive, and I was hurting myself. And so once I had those realizations, that's when I knew I pretty much needed to leave the relationship. So that happened about 3 years ago, and, um, I'm living a much
Free.
better life
Well,
now.
so let me ask now, you're writing children's books
I
on feelings. Did that just I mean, had you always thought about doing that, or did that after the whole thing happened, did somebody approach you and you went, "Oh, I think I'll just write a children's book."
No, I've always loved kids, and so for a friend's daughter, I was writing a fairy tale, and I had no intention of doing anything with it, certainly not building a feelings thing into it. But as I wrote, it evolved and it grew and it changed, and I realized about halfway through it that, oh my gosh, all the lessons I learned in my life are being written into this storyline, and maybe it'll help kids make decisions about their feelings and, feeling their feelings, and then their self-esteem, their self-love will be able to grow. And
That's really a true thing is that we need to help our children feel. We had like feel good, feel bad, feel all the things. We need
all
to
of it.
watch them. We need to care with them. We need to feel with them and let them learn, not just from us, but from what they're feeling, right? And talk about it. That's one thing most of us we
Yeah.
don't talk about things, right?
Right, and one podcaster that I talked to was talking about babysitting her granddaughter, and the granddaughter was crying, 4 years old and crying because she missed her parents. And the grandmother just held her and said, "You know what? Sometimes we really do miss people, and it's okay for you to cry." The little girl at 4 years old said, "You mean I can cry? It's okay?" Well, and
That's weird, isn't it? Yeah.
it speaks to the messages that kids
Yeah.
get,
That's right.
because even the best parents will say to a kid, it's okay, stop crying. It's okay,
Yeah.
stop crying."
Stop
And they
crying.
think they're helping, but they're teaching the
We
kid.
do.
Exactly,
We
I
do.
know
We
I
think we're
do it.
helping. It's okay. Stop crying now. Just stop. You can just stop right
It's
now.
okay,
And sometimes
yeah.
we'll get mad at them. Stop crying. Right? Gee.
Yeah, and hey, I know parents have a big job, and it's stressful, and there's no manual given to us
Yeah, that's right.
to raise
We should
kids, and
we should
so
write a manual for them.
well, I did write a parent's guide at the beginning of my
There you
book.
go. See?
Yeah, um, just because I learned so many things the hard way, and I'm trying to help people avoid having to go through that hardship.
I say I had people. We talk about these kind of things, and I say I had the perfect childhood. Perfect. I grew up in a little teeny town. All the
Mm,
neighbors knew everybody. We knew everybody else. Right? It was like the perfect thing, except when you really talk about what was missing, what was absent, my parents were great parents, but they weren't caring, they weren't inclusive, they didn't
mm,
communicate well. I mean, so all the things that a parent could be in terms of helping me as a child, they were great, but in terms of helping me emotionally, they weren't great. And that's who we learned from. I just did a talk
yes.
out in Vegas, and it was talking about how we learn everything we have, whether it's our personality, whether it's how to love or how to do accounting or how to do something else. Everything is a skill, which means we've learned it. We learned how to love. We learned how to have this relationship. We learned how to react to something. And once we understand that we learned it, now we get to start to understand we can unlearn it, right? So somebody else
We
can, like
can
you can
learn
teach us
something
parents.
new.
That's right. You can teach us
Yeah.
parents how to be better parents.
Yeah. Well, I think parents come at it naturally because no one taught my parents, no one taught their parents, and so, there was, if you go back to the 1800s, there was that really strict Victorianism
Yep.
of, "You better not show your feelings, and we're not gonna talk about anything," and so that kinda carried through the ages, and even though I was born in this neighborhood that was very expansive in so many ways, my parents were still, what I say is my mom taught me to love everybody, even the people that hurt you, and my dad taught me to be a victim.
Oh yeah.
And both of those lessons did serve me in life in a way, because here I am, an author of children's fairy tales, teaching this stuff to other people.
How many books do you have out, by the way?
I have only one right now.
But you've got like 3 already in the can, right?
I do, yeah. So book 2 should
What's book 1 called?
oh, thank you. So, the series is called The Bella Santini Chronicles, and book 1 on Amazon is Bella Santini in the Land of Everlasting Change, and it's a fairy tale aimed at ages 8 to 12. The book 2, which will be Bella Santini in the Troll War, should be published in about 6 weeks.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, so it's definitely at the end of the funnel, and
Still
book
geared towards the same age bracket?
oh, yeah,
Okay.
and book 3 should be out before the end of the year, and that one I'm not gonna tell you the title because
We
it'll
have to
give a
wait.
little something
We have
away.
to wait. Yeah, that's cool. But that is cool when when you've got something you like, when you've bought something like if I bought something for my granddaughter or my is it for boys and girls both, by the way?
It is for boys and girls.
Okay. So if I bought my
Absolutely.
grandsons the book and their parents read to them at night, then of course when the second one came out, I might make it a present for, somebody, Thanksgiving present. Here's a Thanksgiving present. And then when Christmas comes around, then I've got the third one I can anticipate and I can
Yeah,
give it away as a Christmas present to the three boys that are there. So,
absolutely.
but it's one of the when you say parents, I say we need to train the parents. And you say, well, they learn naturally, and I'm in complete disagreement with that. That's why we have so many children who've been abused so badly, is because we don't
Oh,
understand how to we don't understand how to parent. Because if you learned from a bad parent, then you're even worse as a parent, right? You don't just match your parent; you're worse as a parent.
not necessarily. I believe that we learn one of 2 things from our parents. It's either how to be or how not to be.
Oh well,
And so my dad taught me not to be an alcoholic, and many kids of alcoholics do follow the "I'll be an alcoholic," my father was, and so it's one or the other.
but you don't realize you're choosing. See, again, I would go if you're choosing, but most of us, it's an
It's a
attitude that we just, yeah,
subconscious.
that's right. It's a
Yeah.
subconscious choice. And that's where I struggle with. I mean, I taught college for 7 years at the junior college level. And I remember we were doing speeches. And I took a board and because we got to talking about what, something was abusive. Somebody did a speech on child abuse, I'm sure. And I
Yeah.
remember the example I had in the front of the classroom is I took a board and I whacked it about 20 times as I walked across the room. And I'm looking at 30 college age, 17 to 20-year-olds. And I said, now, how many of you think because, that's abuse that I hit my child 20 times going across the room? That's abuse. And only half the hands went up.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and I said, "So the others don't think that's abuse?" They went, "Well, no, you gotta, spank your child or punish your child." And I went, "Oh no, no, spanking your child means you get their attention. So you whack them once, maybe twice, you get their attention. That's what a spanking is to say, hey, I'm disapproving of you, not to abuse them, not to hurt them, right? Because you do that with other kinds of discipline. But that taught me, and this was 1994, 95. It taught me that there were lots of kids who had no idea, right, how to discipline or what abuse was. And so that's where I started to really pay attention to who's teaching who. And that's where I came up with my philosophy, which is we really do need to educate parents on
Mhm.
how to do all the things, including teach children how to deal with their feelings and emotions by buying the book that Angela has out. And what's the title of the book, Angela?
Bella Santini in the Land of Everlasting Change. And
Everlasting Change. Now, how do they get in touch? Do you have a website?
I do, Angela Lee, Legh.com.
Angela Lee, Legh. Did you catch that? Lee, Legh. AngelaLee.com. So I highly recommend you go there and investigate what she's up to because she does phenomenal things and she's going to be helping your children and your grandchildren just by
Mhm.
reading the books. Now, I say just by them reading the books, but you know what? If you would sit down and read these books to your children will gain so much, right? I mean, just
More.
absolutely. Yes. So you should start reading to them now. If they're 2 or 3 years old, read to them. Start reading. Sit by their bed and read them a book for 30, 40 minutes while they go off to sleep. And all the time they're growing up, I read to my son, I think, until he was 12 or 13. And a lot
Mm,
of times I'd fall asleep and he'd pick up the book and start reading it to me when he got a little bit older.
so cute.
So
Yeah, I read to my son. So when my son was young, the Harry Potter books came out, and we would do that, sit down and I would read to him Harry Potter books.
cool.
And that's what
That took a
I'm
year just to get through
hoping.
one of those, didn't it? Man, those are big books.
Well, they were thick. Yeah,
Yeah,
mine are about half that size. But what I do intend for is that the parents read the book to their kids.
great
Certainly, a
idea.
kid picking up the book would gain knowledge from it, but when a parent goes through the parent guide at the front, which gives them a little bit of insight into the teachings that are in the book. And then they can be open and vulnerable and share their own stories of being with a bully, or what what adoption means, or um, child abandonment. And
And
then,
now, when you say child abandonment, I will jump in and say it doesn't just mean you abandon your child. Sometimes emotionally, the children feel abandoned, right, Angela?
oh, very much. Yeah, abandonment doesn't have to be a mother who is so poor she left her child on a doorstep. Abandonment can be, I have two parents, and one of them is so involved in themselves, and the other is so involved in work, and nobody's paying any attention to me except maybe
Yeah.
the maid, who is very kind but not my parent.
You can tell where
Um,
Angela lives, the maid. I had
Not
a
yet.
dog. I had a dog. It was, hey, the dog was looking after Steve a lot. Yeah. No, that's really cool, though. That's exactly right. The abandonment issue doesn't have to mean they left the house. It means emotionally they feel abandoned. So it's
If
really, go
you
ahead.
walk by a play a park playground,
Oh,
notice how many parents have their face buried in their phone while their kid is trying to get their attention.
mom, mommy, 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 mom,
Yeah,
mom.
it's heartbreaking.
I tell I tell the story just so you know. My wife asked me. She said, "Why do you call your mom Dorothy?" I said, somewhere in my life, what I learned was if I would call my mom, right? So we'd be at a party, we'd be at an event, we'd be somewhere, and I'd say, "Hey, mom, hey, mom, hey, mom," and nothing. She never responded. But what I learned was if somebody called her Dorothy, she immediately went to them. So I learned to call my mom Dorothy so that when I was really needing her attention, I would say Dorothy, and she'd look over at me and I'd go, "Hey, I need this." But yeah, I mean, it's tough. You got to learn how to treat your children. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So there are a lot of resources out there, and, look up conscious parenting groups. You'll learn a lot from them. Um, my books are certainly a help, and
Well, what made you decide to write a book? So when we're talking about, I mean, there's lots of people sitting at home right now, especially after this whole last year, um,
mm,
sitting there going, I don't know what I'm going to do. I have no idea. So what made you decide to write a book?
it just came out.
Wasn't somebody not but you belonged to book clubs earlier. You said you belonged to book clubs. So you
Books
were a
are
reader. So you're a
Yeah.
reader before this. And then at some point in time, somebody must have said something that you went, I think I could do that. That's one of the things that I teach people now. I'm
Mhm.
71. I'll be 72 this month. And people say, Steve, shouldn't you be retired? I go, if I had nothing to do, maybe I'd want to retire. But I have so much to do. And that's what I hope everybody listening to this podcast will say. I have so much to do, and some people will be saying, I don't know, I'm just kind of lost. Well, you know what? Here's Angela to say, hey, I chose a new career.
I jumped off the cliff and chose a whole new life, and I'm 57 years old. I if It's never too late
That's right.
to try to make a change in the world. It's never too late to try and fulfill a dream. I remember 10 years ago talking about, "Hey, maybe someday I'll write a book."
There you go.
So it was always maybe part of me, but it didn't have space to come out until after I left the marriage.
Isn't that funny? It didn't have room to manifest. Yep, it's always been
Yeah.
back there, right back here, right? And you say, man,
Mhm.
I think I want to do this. That's like I used to believe that I was a decent poet. And when I first came down here to Florida, which is only about 4 years ago, I said I want to be the poet laureate of Florida, or at least of Tampa.
How nice.
Um, yeah, well, and you say I don't know how to go about that. So I wasn't driven to become the poet laureate, but now, like, when I go out once a week, maybe once every couple of weeks, I write a poem while sitting out on my patio. I write it on Facebook, so it's just out there on Facebook. And some of them are rhymed poems, and some of them are free verse poems. But uh,
Beautiful.
Yeah, thanks.
Okay,
But it's
so
one of those where anybody can do something that you love doing. I'm sorry, go ahead.
I have a challenge for you.
Okay.
Write a poem about raising kids,
Oh, all right. Write a
and
poem about
I will
raising kids.
include it in my book,
Oh,
my next
that's
book.
nice.
Yeah. So you will be, sorry, my bangs are there. Okay.
Your bangs are
My
banging.
bangs were in my eyes, and I kept sweeping them the wrong way because it's all
Oh,
backwards, so
we were talking about that. We were talking about, we say, hey, I want to point my finger at that picture. Everything's backwards when we're
it's
on
backwards,
screen.
yeah.
So she's probably sweeping her hair like, see, that's the nice thing about having no hair. You just push it back. There it is. It only goes one
Ooh.
direction, goes back.
I haven't yet. I mean, I did crop my hair really short, but I haven't taken the no hair thing yet. Who knows? Maybe someday I
Oh,
will.
oh, why'd you cut your hair real short?
Um, in my former marriage, I had no control over my hair.
Oh, he
Um,
wanted it a certain way.
yeah, and I was encouraged to have it really long, and after I left, I cut it short, and I liked it so much that I've just kept it short. So,
Oh,
yeah.
well, that's what it's all about. What do you like? That's what
Well,
our
yeah,
life
and now
should be
it's
like.
pink too,
I saw
so
that. I saw that. Yeah. Hey, we all, at least it's not that real bright, you're like, ooh, what happened to her head, right? Um, but
well,
there's
whatever
guys and
you
girls who
like.
do that. But I mean, they do vibrant colors, and you're like, I understand highlights. I understand changing the color. I guess I don't understand. It's like I was talking with somebody earlier today. I understand tattoos. I just don't understand sleeve tattoos. That go all the way down your arm and all the way up to your shoulder. But that's not my
It's
body.
all
I
a
don't have to
form of
worry about it.
expression.
That's right. That's right. I don't
Yeah.
have to agree with it. I just got to try and accept it, right?
Yeah, and what I say is we don't judge people by the color of their hair, their skin color, how they
Well,
it's the way they behave
well, I wish
that
that
I
was
draw a
true.
line.
Yeah, well, you say you don't judge people, but most people judge people by all those things, and that's what we have to get back to teaching our children, which is what her
Mhm,
children books, teaching our children how to be accepting of other people and their beliefs, as well as they have to accept our beliefs. Our whole world right now is in a place where we
mhm.
don't share communication. If you don't think like I think, I'm going to unfriend you on Facebook. I'm going to stop talking to you. I'm going to
And
maybe
there's
throw
no
things at your
communication.
car. Yeah, there's no what?
No communication.
None, none. And how
No.
do we experience each
How
other
can
if we don't share our disagreements? My wife and I don't agree on everything. We talk about it. It's like, hey, what do you want to watch tonight? I want to watch. She likes to watch horror shows, and I'll say I'm not in the mood. She'll say okay, and we'll watch something else, right? But maybe the next time she'll say, would you mind if I watch this thing? And I go, no, I'll sit here, right? Because I'm usually working on my phone. I do a lot of work on my phone, when I'm sitting there even. And so
Mhm,
if she wants to watch it, hey, you know what? But we don't have to agree to get
mhm.
along and love each other. And that's where we are right now in America, at least, is we don't agree, therefore we hate each other. And what a shame that is, because that's not necessary.
Well, and I believe that when we're looking so even if we think about politics, we've got a glass and one of the parties looking this way and they think they see everything and they think they know everything and the other party is looking this way. They think they see everything, but both parties are missing the entire thing.
That's right.
And that's where the conversations can come in because if we can sit down with each other and realize, okay, you're coming from a perspective that's entirely different from mine, but what's your end goal here? Because in the end, most of us want our children to thrive.
Yeah.
Most of us want to live in peace and harmony. And this is all over the world. I traveled all over Europe a couple of years ago, and everyone I met had the same goals as I did.
Well, that's what I've said this for decades, since the Vietnam War, which is, people don't make war. Governments make war, and all the people want the same thing. If you know, like I got a lot of friends who went back to Vietnam on like 25 years later, who went back to the revisiting Vietnam, and they all came back going, almost nothing has changed. The city had changed, but all the countryside was the same. The people were the same. And they said, hard to believe we went over and killed them, because all they want to do is live their lives and be left alone,
Yep.
which is what we want to do. And
Yep.
so governments rule the world and create wars. People just want to get along most of the time.
Most of them, yeah.
Yeah.
And there are some people who are so caught up in hate that
Oh,
they cannot feel the love that we can have between all of us.
that's right.
And hate, I think, is equal to darkness. And what darkness is a lack of information. There's a lack of light.
That's
And
right.
light is information. So if we shine the light of love on those who hate, we're giving them the opportunity to choose love.
Yeah, and that'd be a nice thing if everybody understood how to accept love. That's back to the children's thing, which is we don't always understand how to accept love. We've been taught how to do certain things a certain way, accepting love. I mean, that's like if you give somebody a compliment, and a lot of times they'll go like, oh, you look great in that dress. Oh, this old thing. Well, you look really pretty today. I didn't even put on makeup. Whatever it might be, we have not been taught to experience gratitude, gratefulness, acceptance, right? And that's tough. Well, we're almost out of time. And Angela, do you have any final wonderful last words that you can share with people?
Oh, gosh. I recently reread Einstein's letter to his daughter, and what people will say, oh, look on Snopes and it's all fake or whatever, but what the letter says is so impactful. And what the letter says is that love is the strongest force in the universe. It has gravity in it because of that attractive
Yeah,
force
that attraction.
that we and just choose love.
Cool. I
That's
like that.
all.
Just choose love. And Angela Legh, Legh.com.
Yeah.
Angela Legh, Legh.com is how you want to go to her website. Certainly buy her book. What's the title of the book, Angela?
Bella Santini in the Land of Everlasting Change.
Bella Santini, look that up on your Funkin' Waggles. Oh, I mean Amazon. Guess I dated myself on that one, didn't I? Anyway, I'm Steve Sapato. You've been listening to The Happiness Agenda, and I hope this has helped you find a new path, find a new happiness, find a moment of compassion and love in your own life. I'm Steve Sapato. You can reach me at steve@stevesapato.com, and I'm wishing you all the very best. God bless.